first off, I definitely owe Jack Hott a beer for heckling. I'm sorry. And secondly, I have been working with food, around food, pretty much since I came out of the womb. It is like second nature to me, and I have worked really closely with all the other speakers here tonight. And I just want to give them a quick round of applause because they're all phenomenal people and pioneering some really great stuff. So the quick pitch is that Feastly is an online marketplace for listing and promoting culinary events. So dinners, demos, classes, pop-ups. What we do is we tear apart the traditional restaurant model in a way that allows chefs to better connect with their audience and do what they do best, which is cooking food and serving it to their clients. If any of you have any experience or friends who work in the restaurant industry, which I would probably think is most of you in Portland, then you have some insight into what we do, and it's really, really hard. Traditional restaurants do not meld with 21st century economics. It is a fragmented industry. The CapEx is unattainable for most people who are wanting to share their talents with the world. Antiquated business practices combined with the fact that we're pretty unsophisticated, and I say that in a very self-deprecating way, but I've been working in the intersection of food and technology for about 5 years now, and I can say it's clunky. 5% profit margins at best if you have a successful restaurant, maybe a tad more if you have a name like Danny Meyer or David Chang. Huge failure rates. Accurate data is really hard to come by in our industry, so there's articles that say 90% of restaurants close within their first year, and other articles that say, oh, it's something closer to 50. What we're gathering from our data is something in the 70% range of restaurants fail within their first year. If you look at NewTech PDX, that certainly would confirm a lot of those theories. Literally half of their blog posts these days are about restaurants that are opening and restaurants that are closing in Portland, and that's it. And a very unhappy labor force, and this is kind of segueing off of what Jack was talking about a little bit, in the sense that these are people who have honed their talents over many, many years that are not appreciated through big paychecks or lots of thanks. So, we have this community of talent across the world that is really struggling to kind of be content in their jobs, and yet there is this ongoing demand because we have huge turnover in the industry. Getting a little ahead of myself. So, what Feastly is trying to do is create a deconstructed restaurant. When you think about other artists, you think about musicians, they're not expected to create and own their own concert halls. Certainly some of them do. Same thing with visual artists. They don't necessarily own their own galleries. So what we do is we are really trying to help with the logistics and the infrastructure. So as I said before, current restaurant model doesn't make sense. It takes years, tons of money, especially if you're looking in Portland right now. I'm dealing with real estate right now. It's effing miserable. Marketing is difficult. You have to pay to play to get exposure anywhere, and a lot of people don't really understand how engagement works in the world of web. So what we're doing is we're trying to alleviate that for chefs. We're trying to empower them to do what they do best. And so essentially any chef who comes on board Feastly, what they do is they can start whenever. We help by connecting them with infrastructure, AKA venues. So we say, hey, come do your pop-up in this venue. We give them a list of dates that are available. There you go. No $500,000 investment, no LOIs, no CapEx. There's no initial investment other than the product that they buy to do their pop-up. And again, I say pop-up because, or I use the term pop-up very loosely, take it with a grain of salt, because our spaces can be used to, test dinners for a restaurant that you have coming up. If you're working on a catering business or a retail product, you can also use that as a space, a licensed commercial kitchen, to do recipe testing. You can do it for a book launch event. So we really are this very flexible platform. We have a ton of digital marketing in-house, which is really kind of our bread and butter in the sense that, you know, we take over and we have a good ad spend, and we know what engagement looks like through the social media channels, so we help boost some of our chefs to increase their engagement, and that takes a little bit less of the pressure off of them. Every month we reach about 500,000 users, 500,000 people through our channels. The dashboard, which actually I don't have a screenshot of you to show, once a chef is onboarded onto Feastly, you know, we have a dashboard of tools that really enables them to, you know, set their own parameters, set the price of their meal, set the number of feasters, if they want to do a la carte beverages. Every aspect of service is kind of encompassed into this dashboard that is an elevated version of an Eventbrite or a Ticketmaster, because similar to how Poached is specifically designed for food and drink, you know, Feastly ticketing and the Feastly platform is designed specifically for our chefs. And like what I said before, you know, it's all about the chef and what they cook. It's not about the marketing, the business acumen, all of those things. So this is just a little visual model of some of the tools that we have through the site. Every chef gets to build a profile and post their menus. And then meal guest management, you know, they also tackle, we manage the ticketing, we manage the payment. It's all incredibly transparent, and we do payouts every Tuesday and Thursday, whereas Eventbrite and Ticketmaster brown paper tickets can be more, take a couple of weeks sometimes. We oversee the marketing, we oversee some of the venue management, but for the most part, you know, what we do is we're empowering the chefs to kind of dictate how they want their event to go, and we're really just supporting that operation. Just I'll have to rush through this, but this is just kind of a quick insight as to, you know, what our model looks like relative to the standard restaurant. So as you can see, you know, the typical Feastly chef walks away with a greater percentage of that meal, of their takeaway that goes into their pocket. We also minimize the overhead in the sense that our venue, to access any of our venues, is much cheaper than it would be if you're just going out into the community and asking to rent your standard venue. And then we don't have, we're operating in LA and San Francisco right now, so I don't have an average chef salary for Feastly chefs, but we know that nationally right now the average chef salary, that's kind of hard to say, is $12 an hour. And so this is just some screenshots of what our platform looks like from the end user side. So any diners who are interested, you can go and check it out. It's similar to Eventbrite in that you go and you see these beautiful pictures of our chefs' meals, and then you have the choice of booking the meal right away, of craving it, which is kind of our equivalent of liking it, and it's essentially through all this data and through these metrics, the different types of cuisine that you like, that we've been able to establish really helpful insights as to, you know, when your users are going to be booking, you know, a seat at your table. So, you know, what Feastly does above and beyond assisting the chef, you know, with building their brand and building their business, is we give really great analytical feedback. And for that reason, we actually have an 80% sell-through rate, which, again, I don't have that on a national restaurant average, but I would probably argue it's a little better. So we're in Portland now. I'm overseeing the launch. We have kind of had a soft launch here over the last couple of months, but we will be ramping up through the summer. So if you like eating, which I hope all of you do, since you're at a food tech event, you should check out feastly.com and see what kind of meals we've got going on here in Portland.
Awesome, wonderful. Last questions of the night?
Yeah, green.
How do you compare this to other similar local competition like Josephine?
So Josephine is, and that's a great question, I did an event with them last fall. Josephine is focused more on kind of the home chef. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Josephine is a platform where you can sell excess or kind of abundance of home-cooked meals to your neighbors. So think next door meets Blue Apron in a way. So Josephine really is kind of looking at the home chef, whereas the preponderance of our users are chefs who lie somewhere in the spectrum of kind of having experience in a professional kitchen and wanting to build their own business. Yeah.
Has anybody taken a look at this model and thought about having a space that doesn't move and bringing in different chefs throughout the week, rotating a series of chefs as a restaurant idea?
Repeat the question if you can.
Yeah, so he asked, has anybody thought about this model as incorporating it into a permanent space? And so you just have a static space where you just infiltrate new chefs. And yes, in various iterations, there have been plenty of restaurants that have played with this idea. And there are, it's interesting, and I'll try not to talk too long about this, but in terms of spaces in Portland right now, because they are so expensive, what a lot of people are doing, or similar to peer space, is you can rent when they're not using it. And so, one of the systems that we use is that we work with a lot of existing restaurant spaces and or venue spaces. And so when we're offering venue space to our chefs, it's oftentimes a venue within that network in the community, so in Portland right now, when they're not utilizing their space. And so we're actually able to give them some revenue for things, just letting us use their space, and then help the chef earn additional revenue as well without that overhead of us having an actual space.
Wonderful. Last question.
So how do you guys build your revenue and profits? Do you guys charge the chefs?
Mm-hmm. Yep, so she asked, essentially what our revenue model is. So we have, and I think this is one of the areas where I'm very curious to see how this pans out in Portland and get feedback from our community here. But, essentially the way that it works is we have a lot of a la carte services. And so, the first kind of branch is, do you need to use one of our venues, or do you have your own venue? Because lots of chefs have friends or work at restaurants where they're able to take them over and do their pop-ups there. So the first service that we kind of figure out is, do you need a space from us? If they don't need a space from us, great. No charge, obviously. One of the chefs that was here tonight, I think he's skedaddled. June, he's the sous chef at XLB, which is a new Chinese spot up on Williams. He does his Filipino brunches there the last Sunday of every month. So no venue charge there. If a chef needs a space from us, it's 10%. And, if you've been in the industry, we designed this to be very startup friendly. We did it as a percentage so that if you want to do a $20 ramen pop-up for 20 people, you're going to pay $40 for a space. So the venue percentage is certainly not where we make our money. And anyways, so venue percentage, we charge 10% for venue, and then ticketing. So, and the ticketing percentage varies depending on how soon they post their meal. We incentivize chefs to post their meal at least a month out, because one, organic engagement is way better the earlier we can post it, so we don't have to boost our ad spend because chefs are posting 2 days before their event. So we give them additional incentives. A cut, like about 5% if they do ticketing through us and the event is posted a month out. That percentage goes up the closer that they're posting their event to the actual day. And then there is a platform charge as well that covers the processing fees. All in all, our feedback thus far, we have 6 venues and have been operating in San Francisco for 3 years. We have 2 venues in LA and have been operating there just under a year. But all in all, the feedback that we've gotten from our chefs has been really positive, and that with those percentages, they're still coming home with a lot more cash in their pocket.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you.
There you go.